President Trump just unveiled what he's calling the Great Healthcare Plan, and it's about to blow up the entire medical establishment. Instead of funneling billions to insurance giants, he wants to cut out the middlemen and send the money directly to you. The pharmaceutical lobby is probably in full panic mode right now, and you're about to see why. You see, this is not just another campaign promise. This is a direct assault on the most profitable industry in America. Under Trump's plan, you would get the same drug prices that Europeans pay, which are often 70% cheaper than what Americans are shelling out. Insurance companies would lose billions in taxpayer subsidies that currently pad their profits. The MAHA movement is backing this hard, which means that RFK Jr.'s health revolution just got a massive boost. But here is what nobody's talking about. If this passes, it completely reshapes American healthcare forever. No more being held hostage by your employer's insurance plan. No more rationing insulin because you can't afford it. Of course, the establishment's going to fight this tooth and nail because their entire business model depends on keeping you dependent on their system and keeping you sick. And speaking of things the establishment does not want you to know about, we got some breaking news because we need to talk about a metal that most people never think about. But governments and defense contractors think about it every day. Now, I've spent years focused on gold and silver, but the opportunity that really caught my attention sits one layer deeper in critical minerals, and one metal in particular is called titanium. That's what my wedding ring is partially made of. Now, while everyone is distracted by healthcare battles, smart money is quietly positioning in the materials that power our national defense infrastructure. SAGA Metals is mining these strategic resources that America desperately needs. And just like Trump is cutting out healthcare middlemen, maybe it's time to cut out the Wall Street middlemen too. You can get their full briefing linked below. But here's the kicker. You see, Trump says he's got other countries to agree to this thing using tariffs. That means he's already been working the diplomatic channels behind the scenes. Now, the most favored nation pricing that presidents have tried to implement for years, he claims it's already locked and loaded. And notice how the press secretary called this the most comprehensive and bold agenda ever considered. Really? The most comprehensive and bold agenda ever? Because another one? Every day I'm hit with another historic and bold agenda from this administration, and I'm loving every minute of it. Because I'm finally seeing a president who's got some freaking balls to do something. I mean, the guy just went after the Federal Reserve chair with a criminal indictment. What? Yeah, let's friggin' go. Let's go after Big Pharma. Oh yeah, by the way, Bill and Hillary have been held in contempt. Look, the deep state's freaking out. No small ball here. Now, let's look at this. Roger Marshall talking about the Kansas dairy farmers. Milk. It does a body good, right? Remember those commercials? Well, Roger Marshall of Maryland, he's quite happy.
Mr. President, thank you so much for having us here on behalf of Kansas dairy farmers. Thank you. Milk is the most wholesome, nutritious drink known to humankind. Not only is it full of essential nutrients, it's full of healthy fats as well as protein. As Dr. Carson pointed out, those healthy fats are what helps that brain develop and help you absorb the fat-soluble vitamins. The protein is why you drink milk and you're not hungry again in 30 minutes. And I have to point out that under the previous couple administrations ago, thanks to them, we have a whole generation of young adults who have osteopenia and osteoporosis because they never drank milk for an entire generation. So getting milk back in the schools is going to give us healthy bones and healthy minds. It sticks to your ribs and it tastes great.
Oh, I love milk. It does our body good. Oh, man. You should have seen our house growing up. My mother could not keep the milk in the fridge. She would go through gallons. She'd go to the grocery store, call it the milk store. My mother was very frugal, God rest her soul. She would go there and she'd buy four gallons of milk. Me and my 4 brothers would just drink that stuff down. Now, this is the praise from Senator Marshall setting up the president's own announcement about signing milk legislation into law. It's about milk, guys. Listen up. I mean, who can make milk great again? There's only one guy.
Today, I'm delighted to sign the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act into law, which is a very important thing for our farmers, and I think maybe more important for our people, the people that drink milk. This is the first bill signing of the new year, and it will ensure that millions of school-aged children have access to high-quality milk as we make America healthy again. I want to thank Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins, who's behind me, Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Senators John Boozman and Mike Crapo, Roger Marshall, Peter Welch, as well as Representative G.T. Thompson and Tim Walberg, all great people. Also with us today is USDA National Nutrition Advisor Dr. Ben Carson, my friend for a long time. We went head-to-head, and it was not easy going head-to-head with Ben. He's great. He still looks good. That's because he drinks a lot of milk. And some of our nation's wonderful dairy farmers and their children, they're going to be farmers for a long time, we hope. As it currently stands, schools participating in the National School Lunch Program are only able to offer students low or non-fat milk options. That was changed during the Obama administration. A lot of people disagreed with it at the time. With this legislation, schools will finally be able to expand their offerings to include nutritious whole milk.
I love whole milk.
It's actually a legal definition, whole milk. And it's whole with a W for those of you that have a problem. Most of the media will get that.
Of course, the jab of the media, the president cannot resist. Signing ceremony leads directly into the health secretary explaining how this reverses Obama-era policies. Secretary Rollins.
Thank you, and what a joy and an honor it is to be here. I feel like I have the best job in the world with representing all of these farmers, and Mr. President, not in our lifetime, has been a president who loves and supports our farmers more, and certainly the dairy farmers. I want to thank all of our farmers here today, sir. Most of them are 5th and 6th generation. They represent states from all across our country, and bringing the children to and seeing what the next generation of dairy farmers looks like. The amazing thing is some of these farmers back here from Butler, Pennsylvania, he milks.
Where?
Butler, Pennsylvania.
I love Butler. I do.
Yeah, and they love you. They love you. But he milks about 40 to 60 cows. And then we have Jamie from Wisconsin who milks about 5,000 cows. So they represent all across the spectrum.
Wow.
And what this means. And I think it's important to note that in the last year, your support for these American farmers, for rural America. The One Big Beautiful bill was the largest investment in rural America in history. I think that's important to note. The trade, and I see my friend Jamison Greer over there and Howard Lutnick on this end, we've opened up more than 24 different markets. Milk exports, dairy exports are up 23% just in the last year. And when you think about the ag deficit that happened under Joe Biden and the 4 years, we went from a surplus of agriculture products when we left the first time to a $50 billion deficit when we came back. Yep. So these are massive, massive wins for America, and I think it's important to note that. I also want to note, and you said it as well, that over a decade ago, Michelle Obama in this very room made an announcement on a short-sighted campaign to ditch whole milk in schools, and that's what we're working to fix today. Last week, Bobby Kennedy and Ben Carson and Dr. Oz and the whole crew, sir, announced the Dietary Guidelines for Americans 2025 to 2030, which also reintroduced full-fat dairy into a healthy diet. And today, by signing this bill, Senator Marshall and Congressman Thompson and both, all the wonderful men to the right who worked so hard on this, Peter Welsh, it is a bipartisan issue, and understanding where we are in this country and how important the health of certainly our children are is so important. USDA is posting today the guidance. So we're signing the bill, and USDA, we're moving at Trump time, is posting today the new rulemaking that is necessary to get whole milk back into school lunches. So that's a really, really big deal.
So how long will that take?
It should just take a few weeks, and then the milk starts moving in. So it's a big announcement, sir, for our schools and our children. And I know Secretary Kennedy will talk a little bit about the health issues, so I won't do that. I'll skip over that. You mentioned, and the last thing I'll say, I know we're here to sign the bill on whole milk, but Senator Crapo's work and our wonderful friend Doug LaMalfa, who we lost way too soon,
right.
Their work on securing Rural Schools Reauthorization Act, how important that too is for rural America. 700 eligible rural counties across the nation are now guaranteed funds for schools and roads and infrastructure. So, sir, you say it all the time. Those are your people. They voted for you and with us and saw your vision from the beginning. This is who we're here to support today, in addition to the whole milk for healthy schools, which will help all children. Just remember, eat real food and drink whole milk. What a joy again it is to be here, and I especially want to thank all of our incredible farmers for what you do.
Thanking the farmers. Milk does a body good. Secretary Rollins pivots from policy criticism to showing concrete economic results. Here she is more with the chart.
How are we
This
doing
is what you should expect. This is what's coming next.
with food prices, bringing them down?
Yes, sir. Well, I'm glad you asked, because I brought a chart, and that just happened to be right behind me. So speaking of milk, milk is actually way down, and I know we're here to talk about that today. Obviously,
44%.
That's right, sir.
44% down. Milk, 44% down.
Eggs is way
Wow.
down. Milk is way down. This is just since we took office, sir. Fresh whole chicken down 2%, cheese down, tomatoes down, butter down. Of course, eggs are way down. Potatoes down almost 3%, fresh fruits down almost 3%. But this is just the beginning. And as we continue to bring the cost of farming down, bring the cost of inputs down, open up the markets, support our farmers, we'll see even more affordability moving forward.
And eggs are down 31%, so that's really something.
Eggs are
fresh whole
down
chicken.
31%. Did you hear that? The food price charts demonstrating the flows into Trump's explaining the broader consumer-friendly changes in the legislation. Here is the president talking about, remember that food pyramid story we did?
This is the perfect follow-up to the new real food pyramid, and Secretary Kennedy and Secretary Rollins announced that last week. You probably heard. This legislation also allows parents to directly request a substitute for milk for children with dairy intolerance. Previously, parents were required to submit a written statement from a doctor, but we're eliminating that rather ridiculous policy, allowing parents to choose what is best for their child, which is a big move. Hard to believe that that would be a big thing, but it is. And of course, these changes will be major victories for the American dairy farmers, who we love and who voted for me in great numbers, I will say. I think I got every one of them. In December, I also signed the Secure Rural Schools Reauthorization Act, and I'm proud to say that these two pieces of legislation will give school-age children across the country the resources and support that they need, not just to succeed, but really to thrive in life and later on in life.
They are going to thrive. All of America is going to thrive. We are going to be a healthy nation again. Trump's detailed policy explanation builds towards the massive healthcare announcement that's about to break. President Trump unveils the great healthcare plan to lower costs and deliver money directly to the American people. Buckle up.
Today, I'm thrilled to announce my plan to lower healthcare prices for all Americans and truly make healthcare affordable again. We're doing things that nobody's ever been able to do. We're calling it the Great Healthcare Plan. Instead of putting the needs of big corporations and special interests first, our plan finally puts you first and puts more money in your pocket. The government is going to pay the money directly to you. It goes to you, and then you take the money and buy your own health care. Nobody's ever heard of that before, and that's the way it is. The big insurance companies lose, and the people of our country win. This proposal locks in the massive discounts on prescription drugs that my administration is achieving through our most favored nation drug pricing agreement. Now, when you hear about that, for 40 years they've been trying to do it, but they never were able to do it. No other president was able to do it. I got every other country to approve it by the use of tariffs and other things. They all approved it. Nobody else got it. No other president got it. And for the most part, they didn't even try because they felt it was impossible. It'll bring down drug prices 80, 90%, in some cases, just numbers that nobody's ever heard of before. Your prescription drugs will come way, way down. And under this policy, the prices of many drugs will be slashed by 300, 400, and even 500% starting this month at the TrumpRx.gov. So instead of Americans paying the highest drug prices in the world, which we have for decades, we will now be paying the lowest cost paid by any other nation. So any other nation that's paying the lowest cost, that's what we're going to pay. And the American people will get the savings. So I have to reiterate, the lowest price in the world is what you're going to pay. Before, you were paying the highest price in the world by far, and the politicians did nothing about it. So I'm asking Congress to complete the work that we've started. Next, my plan would reduce your insurance premiums by stopping government payoffs to big insurance companies and sending that money directly to the people. Obamacare was designed to make insurance companies rich. I call it the Unaffordable Care Act, with billions of dollars in taxpayer subsidies that helped their stock prices skyrocket over 1,700%. As you paid more money for health care every single year, more and more, the premiums went higher and higher. I want to end this flagrant scam and put extra money straight into the healthcare savings account in your name, and you go out and buy your own healthcare, and you'll make a great deal. You get better healthcare for less money. That way you can choose the care that is right for your family. To further reduce insurance premiums, my plan ends the giant kickbacks to insurance brokers and corporate middlemen that only drive up the costs, and that's what they're intended to do, drive up the cost. But we're driving down the costs. And it fully funds a long neglected part of the law known as the Cost Sharing Reduction Program. This measure alone should cut premiums on the most popular Obamacare plans. It's hard to believe there are any because it's a hated program. It's unaffordable, but it's going to cut them by an average of 10 to 15%. Next, the Great Healthcare Plan. That's the name. It's called the Great Healthcare because it's great healthcare at a lower price. Mandates unprecedented accountability and transparency from insurance companies and all healthcare providers so that special interests can no longer profiteer at your expense. As the saying goes, sunlight is the best disinfectant. That is why my plan orders all insurance companies to publish rate and coverage comparisons in very plain English. It requires insurers to publish detailed information about how much of your money they're going to be paying out in claims versus how much they're taking in profits. In other words, you will be able to watch the scam. It forces them to release detailed data on how many claims are being denied and whether those denials are eventually overturned on appeal. And most importantly, it will require any hospital or insurer who accepts Medicare or Medicaid to prominently post all prices at their place of business so that you are never surprised and you can easily shop for a better deal or better care. And you're going to end up doing both. You're going to get a better deal and better care. We will have maximum price transparency and costs will come down incredibly. I'm calling on Congress to pass this framework into law without delay. Have to do it right now so that we can get immediate relief to the American people, the people I love. Thank you very much.
The people I love. Man, God bless this guy. God bless him and his whole administration. They're putting us first. This is the breaking news. Introducing the comprehensive plan. We're about to break down piece by piece, lowering insurance premiums. Stop sending big insurance companies billions in extra taxpayer-funded subsidy payments. Instead, sending that money directly to eligible Americans, allow them to buy the health insurance of their choice. The insurance premium details sets up an equally important drug pricing component, lowering drug prices, codifying the Trump administration most favored nation deals to get Americans the same low prices for prescription drugs that people in other countries pay. The drug price reforms combined with the insurance changes to create what the press secretary calls a historic plan. Our cameras were there today in the press room. Let's go to that moment.
This morning, President Trump unveiled a health care plan for America called the Great Health Care Plan, and a video message detailing his solutions to lower costs for all Americans and significantly improve our health care system. The Great Health Care Plan will accomplish this through 4 common sense pillars. Number 1, permanently lowering prescription drug prices. Congress can get this done by codifying President Trump's historic Most Favored Nation initiatives into law to guarantee Americans the same low prices for prescription drugs that people in other countries around the world pay. Additionally, by increasing consumer choice by making more verified, safe pharmaceutical drugs available for over-the-counter purchases. Number 2, the Great Healthcare Plan will stop sending big insurance companies billions in extra taxpayer-funded subsidy payments and instead send that money directly to eligible Americans to allow them to buy the health insurance of their choice. Additionally, by funding a cost-sharing reduction program for healthcare plans and ending kickbacks from pharmacy benefit managers to large brokerage middlemen. Number 3, the Great Healthcare Plan will maximize price transparency by requiring any healthcare provider or insurer who accepts either Medicare or Medicaid to publicly and prominently post their pricing and fees to avoid surprise medical bills. This is an incredibly popular policy that has been bipartisan for many years, and President Trump is officially and firmly calling on Congress to get it done. And number 4, holds big insurance companies accountable by requiring them to publish rate and coverage comparisons up front on their websites in plain English so consumers and everyday Americans can make the best purchasing decisions for them and their families. These are common sense actions that make up President Trump's Great Healthcare Plan, and they represent the most comprehensive and bold agenda to lower healthcare costs to have ever been considered by the federal government. Congress should immediately take up President Trump's plan and pass it into law. For Americans watching at home, you can visit greathealthcare.gov right now for more information on the Great Healthcare Plan.
Greathealthcare.gov. That's the website. We're going to get hats now that says make healthcare great again. The press secretary's claims about his plan lead her to explain exactly how the money will flow. Let's go. Check it out.
So this is the second principle in the president's health care plan, lowering insurance premiums specifically and ensuring that that money is going directly back to the American people and cutting the kickbacks that then raise those premiums. So this plan, once put into legislative text and passed by Congress and sent to the president's desk, will stop sending big insurance companies billions of an extra taxpayer-funded subsidy payments and instead send that money directly to eligible Americans to allow them to buy the health insurance of their choice through, you may have heard it be referred to as health savings accounts. Whether that ends up being the actual name of such accounts, we'll have to see. Again, Congress and the White House are going to work together to put this plan into action. And then secondly, the Great Healthcare Plan will fund a cost-sharing reduction program for healthcare plans, which will save taxpayers at least $36 billion and reduce the most common Obamacare plan premiums by over 10%. And that's according to the Congressional Budget Office.
Yeah, let's go. You want to talk about, we're gonna lock down the government until you figure out this whole subsidies thing. Looks like Trump had a plan all along, didn't he? The direct payment explanation builds to the press secretary's final promise about universal cost savings.
If this plan is put in place, every single American who has health care in the United States will see lower costs as a result. They will see more transparency. All of these proposals that are within the Great Healthcare Plan are incredibly popular with the American people, and they will impact everyone, not just a small fraction of those who are within the healthcare marketplace, but every single American will continue to see their costs go down. And I will note that they already are with respect to prescription drug prices. When you look at what the president has done with most favored nations, you've seen these big pharmaceutical companies in the Oval Office saying that this president and his team were nonstop around the clock pressuring us and negotiating with us to lower the cost of prescription drugs for Americans. And we are already seeing that to the tune, in some cases, of more than 500%. And that Trump RX website is something that the administration will be formally launching very soon, so Americans will have access to those lower costs of drugs.
Wow. Genius move, right? Making more drugs available over the counter that completely bypasses the doctor pharmaceutical complex. Do you understand? That's what forces you into expensive office visits just to get basic medications. They are literally removing every gatekeeper between you and affordable health care. No wonder the medical establishment's freaking out. No wonder they're going right into the Oval Office, right? Begging. See, look, this plan either revolutionizes American healthcare or dies in Congress under corporate pressure. There's no middle ground here. Trump is betting that Americans are tired of being cash cows for Big Pharma and insurance giants. The MAHA movement gives him the populist health angle he never had before. And if it works, you are going to be paying European prices for drugs and choosing your own health insurance with government money. If it fails, we're back to the same broken system that's bankrupting families, and the establishment will throw everything they have at stopping this because their profit margins depend on the current rigged game. This is David versus Goliath, except David has presidential power and a pissed off population behind him. Check out the Next News merch shop while you can still afford health care. So do you think that Congress will actually pass this? Or will Big Pharma buy enough votes to kill it? Yes or no?
The system controls information. Information control is power. I want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.